They were kidnapped as children, forced to convert to Islam, beaten, starved, broken, then rebuilt into the deadliest military force the world had ever seen. For 200 years, they were unstoppable. They conquered Constantinople. They shattered European armies. They made the Ottoman Empire a superpower that terrified 3 continents. Then something went catastrophically wrong. The slaves became masters. The warriors became thugs. The protectors became terrorists. And the most elite military force in history transformed into the most corrupt, violent, incompetent mob ever to hold an empire hostage. This is the story of the Janissaries, how they were created through one of history's most brutal systems, how they became so good that no army on earth could stop them, and how they fell so far that their own empire had to destroy them to survive. Let's begin. June 15th, 1826. Constantinople. The Sultan's artillery cannons surround a massive military barracks. Inside, 4,000 elite soldiers realize they've been trapped. The Sultan gives the order. The cannons fire. The barracks explode into flames. Cannonballs slam into the buildings. Wood splinters. Stone cracks. Fires erupt. Men scream. They try to escape, but they're cut down by cavalry, shot by infantry, beaten by civilian mobs. In 4 hours, 4,000 men burn alive. Over the next 6 months, 6,000 more will be hunted down and executed, beheaded in a fortress that will forever be known as the Blood Tower. This is how you end 440 years of military tradition. Not with honor, not with ceremony, with fire, blood, and calculated massacre. But to understand why Sultan chose to incinerate his own army, you need to understand what the Janissaries were, how they were created, how they became the deadliest force on the planet, and how they transformed from elite warriors into the empire's worst nightmare. This is the complete story, from stolen Christian children to burning barracks. So, let's begin. 1380s. The Ottoman Empire has a problem. Unreliable tribal warriors who are employed for limited campaigns and owe allegiance to regional chiefs, not the Sultan. The solution? Build soldiers with no external loyalties. Build them from scratch. In come the Devshirme, the gathering. Ottoman scouts rode through Christian villages in the Balkans every 3 or 4 years. They inspected boys aged 8 to 18. They looked for the brightest, the strongest, the most gifted. They took 1 boy out of every 40 families. Not random rating, though. Bureaucratic precision. Double registers of names, ages, physical appearance, parentage. The selection criteria were brutal. Physically perfect, intelligent, athletic, from healthy families. Parents who did not cooperate, executed. A decree in 1601 made it explicit. Resist the recruitment, hang from your doorway. Then came the transformation. Phase 1. Turkish Muslim families in Anatolia. 2 to 7 years with them. Circumcision by force. Forced Islamic conversion. Learning Turkish. Erasure of their Christian identity. Phase 2. Military training. Deliberately brutal. Starvation rations, lack of sleep, constant beatings. They learned about firearms, siege warfare, languages, numbers, Islamic doctrine. And more notably, they learned that the core was the only family they had. That the Sultan was their one father. That their brothers were not brothers by blood, but Janissaries like themselves. They couldn't marry until age 40, couldn't be business owners, had to live in barracks, ate out of communal cauldrons, lived completely cut off from civilian life. At age 24, when they became true Janissaries, their past lives were forgotten. Their core was their identity. Their devotion was complete. The result? The most effective military force the world had ever seen. Europe's first true standing army. Professional soldiers training constantly while other armies were farmers conscripted for campaigns. They adopted firearms in the 1440s, decades ahead of most European armies understanding how well guns could be employed. They developed volley fire in 1605, trench line turns firing round the clock. Their battlefield victories read like the greatest hits of military dominance. Battle of Kosovo, 1389, 2,000 Janissaries assist in the crushing of Serbia. The Balkans are in Ottoman hands for 500 years. Fall of Constantinople, 1453. The Byzantine capital that had endured sieges for more than 1,000 years at last falls. Siege warfare by the Janissaries paired with Ottoman cannon breaks walls everyone believed to be invincible. The final piece of Rome passes on. Battle of Mohács, 1526. Hungarian heavy cavalry, the pride of Christian Europe, charges Ottoman lines. Janissary musket volleys obliterate them. The Hungarian king dies. Central Europe lies open. Under Suleiman the Magnificent, about 20,000 Janissaries form the core of an empire stretching from Vienna to the Persian Gulf. Their palace guards, police forces, firefighters, garrison troops, some rise to incredible power. Grand Vizier Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, a Serbian boy stolen in the Devshirme, effectively runs the empire for 14 years. They're feared across Europe. Armies desert rather than face them. They are, without question, the most deadly infantry force of their era. But here's the thing about creating warriors too powerful. Eventually, they realize they're powerful. Just 70 years in, the first mutiny. Janissaries demand more pay. They bully the Sultan. They receive it. The precedent is set. The Sultan's slaves have political power. The cracks are opened. Marriage is allowed in 1566. 3 centuries of celibacy imposed on memory. Children of the Janissaries are then admitted to the core. The meritocracy is converted into a hereditary caste. Devshirme is ended in 1648. Anybody can now buy their way in. Numbers swell. 20,000 at Suleiman's time to 135,000 in 1826. But most aren't warriors. They're paper Janissaries. Merchants, craftsmen, porters buying membership for tax breaks and government salary. They've never handled a musket, never trained, never fought, and they're kingmakers. 1622, they kill Sultan Osman II for attempting reforms. First time a sultan is murdered by his people. It won't be the last. Any sultan who challenges their privilege is removed from power or assassinated. New sultans pay bribes to be installed with accession bonuses. They remove Sultan Selim III in 1807, then murder him in 1808. They massacre his entire 25,000-man reforming army. But not only is political power their evolution, they become urban terrorists. They run protection rackets, extort merchants, burn things down. 140 big fires in 28 years under one sultan's reign. They attack citizens, rob travelers, intimidate anyone timid. Their legal immunity lets only Janissary officers discipline them, so they do as they please. Their battlefield performance collapses. Russo-Turkish War, 1787 to 92. 120,000 Janissaries beaten by 8,000 Russian troops. In the Greek fight for independence, they're so incompetent the empire begs Egypt to send troops. By the 19th century, they're parasites, draining imperial finances, terrorizing civilians, blocking every reform, murdering any sultan who tries to change them. And one man is watching all of this, waiting, planning, for 18 years. Sultan Mahmud II becomes sultan in 1808 at the age of 23. He witnessed what happened to his predecessor, Sultan Selim III, murdered by Janissaries for attempting to reform them. His reform troops butchered. The lesson is clear. You can't reform the Janissaries. You can kill them only. But unlike Selim, Mahmud understands destruction requires crushing force, religious legitimation, and political coalition. So he bides his time. For 18 years, he waits. He builds alliances with the ulama, the religious scholars, securing support from the Grand Mufti, the highest religious authority. When the time comes, he needs Islam on his side. He cultivates the Sipahi horsemen, traditional Janissary rivals who've hated them for centuries. They'll be eager participants in the bloodshed. He strengthened his artillery units, 12,000 artillerymen sworn to fight under him personally. Best guns, best training, best postings. He studies every Janissary revolt, reading their plans, collecting points, habits. He knows where they'll go when they rebel, because they will. That's what they do. And he lets them keep thinking they're unbeatable, pays their salaries, withholds their corruption, does not declare reforms. He waits. By 1826, everything is in place. Cannons surrounding Janissary barracks, alliances secured, religious backing guaranteed, the trap laid. Now he just needs them to step into it. May 1826, Mahmud announces formation of the Sekban-ı Cedit, the new soldiers. New fashion structure, European drill. Janissaries will be dispersed over this force. No longer independent corps, no longer independent power base. Everyone understands what this means. The destruction of Janissary independence. Historians believe that Mahmud had provoked them intentionally. He wanted the uprising, because uprising gives him legal and religious pretext for what he has spent 18 years preparing. June 14th, 1826. The Janissaries assemble in the Hippodrome. They knock over their cook cauldrons, traditional sign of defiance. They demand Mahmud rescind the decree. They think it will be business as usual. Sultan backs down, reforms shelved, bonuses paid, business as usual. They have no notion of what is about to hit them. Mahmud deploys his masterstroke. He manufactures the Sancak-ı Sharif, the holy banner of Prophet Muhammad, the holiest relic of the Ottoman Empire. When it is manufactured, all who are faithful must flock to it. Proclamations resound throughout Constantinople. All men of honor, all true believers, must rally to the sacred standard. This is brilliant and evil. The Janissaries thought they were protesting military reform. Mahmud simply declared it a holy war. They're not fighting the Sultan. They're fighting the Prophet. They're fighting God. The Grand Mufti demands a fatwa. The Janissaries are enemies of Islam. They must be wiped out. Some Janissaries, seeing the holy standard, run. They can't fight that. Thousands of civilian citizens who have hated the Janissaries for decades now have divine permission to stand against them. The trap is set. The Janissaries retreat to their main barracks at Et Meydanı, the Meat Square. Massive stone complex. They've weathered revolts here before. The walls should protect them. But Mahmud has surrounded the complex with artillery. His cannons are positioned. His gunners ready. The order comes. Fire. The bombardment is systematic, methodical, merciless. Cannonballs slam into buildings. Structures collapse. Fires erupt everywhere. The complex becomes an inferno. Contemporary accounts describe screams of men trapped inside, burning alive. Smoke visible across Constantinople. The smell of burning flesh. Those who try to escape are cut down. Sipahi cavalry charges fleeing soldiers. Armed mobs attack in the streets. No mercy, no prisoners. The fighting lasts 4 to 5 hours. 440 years of military tradition, ended in a single afternoon. 4,000 Janissaries die, burned alive, crushed by debris, killed trying to escape. Their bodies pile so high the site has to be bulldozed. But Mahmud isn't finished. What happens next makes June 15th look merciful. Mahmud orders every remaining Janissary in Constantinople hunted down. Street by street, house by house. Executions are immediate, no trials. In the Hippodrome, execution stations process hundreds. Anyone harboring a Janissary will be executed. By year's end, about 3,000 captured Janissaries are transported to Thessaloniki. There's a fortress there. They're marched inside and beheaded. All of them. Mass executions lasting weeks. The fortress becomes Kanlı Kule, the blood tower. The stones so soaked with blood, locals claim you can still see stains. In 1890, they whitewash it and rename it the White Tower. But everyone remembers. Total death toll. Conservative estimates say 6,000. Realistic numbers suggest 10,000. In 6 months, an entire military caste is exterminated. Mahmud gets what he wanted. The Janissaries are gone. He establishes the Asakir-i Mansure-i Muhammediye, the victorious soldiers of Muhammad. A new army, European-trained, modern. The foundation of what becomes the Turkish military. But the cost is staggering. From Christian children stolen from Balkan villages to burning barracks in Constantinople. From the world's deadliest army to urban thugs terrorizing civilians. From conquering half of Europe to being incinerated by their own sultan. The Janissary story is one of history's most spectacular rises and most brutal falls. June 15th, 1826. 4 hours of fire. 10,000 dead over 6 months. The blood tower running red with executions. Was it justified? In pure strategic terms, yes. The Janissaries were unreformable. They had to go. The Ottoman Empire survived another 90 years because of this massacre, long enough to modernize, long enough to transform into modern Turkey. The Janissaries were created through brutality, stolen children, forced conversion, identity erasure. They rose through brilliance, professional training, innovative tactics, devastating effectiveness. They fell through corruption, hereditary privilege, urban terrorism, blocking all reform. 440 years, from Devshirme to Blood Tower, from Christian boys to burning barracks, from God's warriors to the Sultan's kindling. The Janissaries are gone, but the lesson remains. Power that cannot be controlled must be destroyed. And when reform requires bloodshed, blood will flow. If all of this history made you see one of the blackest pages in history, destroy that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Was the massacre justified? Could 10,000 deaths have been avoided? Until next time, remember, history's greatest innovations often become its worst nightmares. The question is always when, not if. Thank you for watching, and stay epic and extraordinary.